Good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome here on our YouTube channel and our Facebook channel of our Spiritist study group, NECAFLA, the Center for Spiritist Studies Camille Flammarion here in Brussels. It's a pleasure to have you here with us for another public talk, this time in English, as you can hear. And I would just, before we start, give you some short overview of our activities as we are holding them at the moment. So as you are aware, due to the pandemic situation, our public activities are still online, and we have public talks in 3 different languages here in Brussels. So on Tuesdays, like this evening, Tuesdays 8 p.m., we have them either in English or the other week in French, always alternating. So next week you will have at the same time a talk in French, and then we also offer public talks in Portuguese. For those who would prefer it in Portuguese, that's on Saturdays at 5 p.m. twice a month. You find this information and also information about our study groups that we hold in French and in Portuguese on our webpage, which is NECAFLA, NECAFLA.be. You'll find all the details there. Also, how to contact us, because what we also continue, and which is what's very, very important for us, is the fraternal conversation that we offer. So if you need to address some issue, talk about it, and see perhaps how the Spiritist teachings can help you with that, or just need someone to listen to you, please contact us, and you will also find those information on our webpage. That's as an introduction. This evening we have a talk which addresses the topic, I am my brother's keeper. And this talk has been prepared with lots of love and dedication by our dear friend Joaquin. And I have the great pleasure of welcoming him this evening, and I hope he can join very soon. The idea that the 2 of us this evening is that we can, at the end of the talk, exchange a bit about it and also see what comments and questions you might have. So really, please feel invited to comment or to ask whatever you would like to ask. But enough of introduction. I would then warmly invite Joaquin for this evening's talk, and hope this.
Okay.
Well, I can see him coming through the universe.
Yes,
Welcome,
I'm coming to the universe. Here I am.
How are you?
Thanks very much, Karen. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. It's a very exciting presentation for me. It's something that I really believe a lot about, and I hope that we can have a good time while at the same time making some very important points for all of us who are so much engaged in this spiritist tasks and quest. So maybe we should then begin with a nice little prayer. Why don't you start with a prayer?
Very good idea. Let's do that.
Yes. So I'll be here next to you, praying with my eyes closed. Okay.
That's a pleasure, and I will close my eyes too and invite everyone to calm down. Leave all our worries behind for a while and try to elevate our thoughts, our vibrations to our Creator, to God, whatever name you might want to give him or her. Being grateful for the opportunity that we have of coming here together, learning together, reflect a bit about the connections that exist between all of us, the way we can help one another, care for one another. And so we ask our mentors for inspiration and also for assistance and help for all of those who may need it. So be it. Okay. It's working now.
Okay. So
Just
let's,
over to you.
okay, thanks, Karen. Let's begin then with this presentation, which is called I Am My Brother's Keeper. And we will start, first of all, by talking about a passage in the Bible where in Genesis 4, Cain, who was very jealous of his brother Abel, they're both the children of Adam and Eve. He was very jealous of them because he thought that Cain thought that God preferred Abel. But in fact, God did not prefer either one because they're both his children and God loves them both equally. But God asked Cain, where is Abel, your brother? Where is Abel, your brother? And Cain said, in a sort of insolent way, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I supposed to take care of my brother? Am I supposed to worry about my brother? And this is basically the subject that we are going to talk about today. Are we responsible for our brothers and sisters? Are we responsible for them? Are we there to help them, to keep them, to support them, to love them? This is what we are going to talk about. And God said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. And in fact, Cain had just murdered Abel out of jealousy, out of hate. So God knew that, but God made this question: what have you done? What have you done? Why have you shed your brother's blood? So this is how we start. This is the set that we have to look at. Are we then the guardians of our brothers and sisters, whether they are incarnate or disincarnate? Are we really their guardians? Are we responsible for our neighbors? Are we responsible for other people? Are we responsible? Do we have a duty to help and protect the most vulnerable amongst us? Well, yes, we do. And these are basic questions for every Christian. These are basic questions for every Christian. They are also basic questions for every spiritist, because spiritists are Christians, but they look at Christianity in a different way than other Christian religions or philosophies. But these are basic questions. We have to answer these questions. We have to look at them. We have to reflect on them. We have to try to understand that, what is behind all these things. And love your neighbor is a basic tenet of the Christian faith, of the Christian idea, of the Spiritist idea. And what do we need to do to develop ourselves? What do we need to do to develop ourselves? And in the Spiritist philosophy, we know that one of the objectives that we have is to develop our spirit, to go towards the light, to go, as this hand indicates here, we are going towards the light. We are going towards a higher purpose, a higher being. We're going towards God. And we have to love God above all things. Love God above all things. And we have to love our neighbor as we would love ourselves. This is one of the basic rules. Obviously, we have to love ourselves as a precondition. But loving our neighbor as we love ourselves is one of the basic principles of Christianity, of Spiritist philosophy. So we need to love our neighbor. We need to love our brother. We need to love our sister. And who is my neighbor? Who is that neighbor? Who is really him or her? And then we get into the practical idea of who they are. Is he just like me? Does he look like me? Is he different from me? How is he? And our neighbor is really, he's different from us. Why? Why is it different? Because he's unique. Each one of us is unique. Each one of us is different, as these pictures have shown here. Each one of us has a different physique. Each one of us has a different body. Each one of us has a different level of spiritual development. Each one of us has had different opportunities to develop his intellectual powers. Each one of us have different levels of wealth. So we are all different. We have different. We have also received different gifts from God. Some of us are good at mathematics. Some of us are good at music. Some of us are good at the arts. Some of us can paint. Others, like myself, cannot paint. I can only paint a wall. I cannot paint a picture. But I have a musical gift. I have a gift for languages, for example. So each one of us is unique. Each one of us is different. But in this sense, then, God can only count to one. So he created one spirit, another spirit, and another spirit, and another spirit, and they are all different. So as a friend of mine used to say, God is a very bad mathematician because he can only count to one. But at the same time, that he created us as individuals that are unique, they also say that we are equal. Why are we equal? Why is our neighbor equal to us? Because we come from the same Father. We come from the same spark that God gave us when he created us as spirits, when he created us as eternal spirits that have eternal life. So we come from the same Father. So we are equal before the Almighty. We are equal before God. We are equal before the Creator. Even though we are all different physically. Our neighbor, he or she is our brother or sister, our father or mother, our son or daughter. Our enemy is also our neighbor because we all love our enemies. We cannot pay evil with evil. We have to pay evil with goodness. And we have to learn how to love our enemies. We have to learn how to love them, how to go towards them, how to forgive them, how to be compassionate in relation to them. And the love we have for an enemy, for example, is not the same love that we may have for a child or a daughter or a son or a brother or a sister, but is a kind of compassion. It is basically not paying evil with evil, not wishing bad to people. He or she is our friend as well. He or she is the stranger, the unknown, people that we don't know, people that at first contact, we are shocked to see them like that. And we even maybe be afraid. We may even be repulsed by them because we have some prejudice within us. We may have some prejudices within us. And some of these people are unknown. We don't know how they are. But that does not change the rule. We have to love them as they are and not as we would like them to be. Not like we can only love them if they look like us. No, we have to love them as they are, like these hobos on the street. We have to love the rejected ones. Sometimes society rejects people for any number of reasons, sometimes very unfair ones. Like, for example, if you are a refugee coming into a wealthy area of the world, sometimes you are rejected. But those of us who have traveled from the birth country would like to be well received. And as Abbé Pierre used to say, the world was created for people. And sometimes you have to go towards the rejected ones because it's a way to help them. And sometimes you also have to go towards those that are the untouchables of a society. People like these Roma people here, which are very much discriminated in many parts of Europe, or the Dalits in India, or, if you were a black man like myself, walking in the South, you felt rejected by a lot of people in the 60s and 70s. But he or she is the key to our salvation. Because, as I said before, we have to love our neighbors. And our neighbors in this world, in this planet of trials, in this planet of difficulty, in this planet of light and darkness, they are the key to our salvation. Because if we love them, then we are loving God as well. We are loving ourselves and we are loving God. So they are the key to our salvation. So if you think that you should not love somebody who is very different from you, maybe you are mistaken. Maybe you should reconsider that. The principles of Christian love is that we seek true Christian love. We have to seek this Christian love. And this Christian love, of course, accepts our neighbor. It accepts those that are different from us. It accepts those with whom we sometimes even have difficulty communicating. We reject then selfishness, we reject hatred, we reject pride, we reject vanity, we reject evil, and we reject revenge. Revenge can only take you to a dead end. And we certainly reject violence. So Christian love is basically very powerful, but it only uses positive feelings and positive sentiments to change people, to change yourself, and to change the world. True Christian love, in fact, is called charity. And we as Christians and we as Spiritists have to go towards charity. In fact, we have to sort of become charity. We have to transform ourselves into charitable beings. And this is the basic objective of this quest that we have from planet to planet, from life to life, from incarnation to incarnation. The foundations of this true charity are humility, compassion. Now, humility is very difficult to achieve. Most of us have a very hard time being humble. Some of us forget that whatever we get from God is a gift that can be sometimes taken away very quickly. So if you had the opportunity or the chance of having a gift, if you have the opportunity of doing something that can help other people, please do it. Help the other person. Help those that are in need. Compassion is extremely important if you want to help people, because it is a sort of love. It is a sort of love. It is love. So you have to have this love towards the other person so that you can help them. Love of serenity. You have to be serene. If you have all of these negative feelings within yourself, it's going to be very hard for you to be a charitable person. Simplicity. Moral strength. You have to have strong moral values. Absolutely. There is a right and there is a wrong. No question about it. Principally, if you are following the Christian tenets, there is something wrong, there is something right. And you can start, let's say, the basic idea of what is right is wrong was what's written by Moses in the Ten Commandments. There you have a list of what is right or wrong. But if you go to the gospel according to Spiritism is basically the moral map that we as Spiritists have to follow. The map is there. It is at the center of our philosophy. Everything that we do is written there. So if you have any doubt of what to do, please read the gospel according to Spiritism, because that will help you to take the right decision. That will help you to exercise your free choice. Is extremely important then to have this moral strength, to understand that there are things that you should not do, that you cannot do. There are some behaviors that you cannot do. Obviously, sometimes you may be tempted to do something wrong, but you should be able to control it with reason and with prayer. So pray and pay attention. And charity is also action, because you can have a lot of theoretical knowledge about what it is to be charitable, but if you don't act, if you don't do something, then it's just an exercise in intellectual creation. You basically have to act for love, for good, action for good, to do good for people, to help people in what they need to do, to help spirits, because sometimes spirits are also in need of help. And I'm talking about disincarnate spirits. And the disincarnate spirit is also one of your neighbors, even though he's in another plane, even though he's in the spiritual world. And some of us who are sensitive in terms of the ability to communicate with the spiritual world should know that one of the highest forms of charity is to give spirits the ability to communicate with the physical world. So if you have this task, go towards it. Exercise your charity towards the synchronous spirits. And look for infinity in these sentiments. So what do I mean by that? Is that you should try to have infinite love, infinite serenity, infinite simplicity. And what I mean, infinite means that you are not trying to create conditions that would limit your love. For example, some parents sometimes communicate with their children saying, well, I will love you if you have good grades. No, that is not the way. You should love unconditionally, just like Jesus loved us unconditionally. So look for infinity in these sentiments. Jesus then should be our guide, because he loved us infinitely. He loved us without any precondition. What is the duty of charity? The duty of charity is a duty for every Christian. It's a duty for all spiritists. It's not an option. It's not something that I may do it, I may not do it. No, you have to do it. If you want to call yourself a Christian, if you want to call yourself a spiritist, it's not an option. It's a moral obligation. It's a trial. It is difficult sometimes to be charitable. It is difficult. It's not easy. It is not easy, for example, to forgive somebody who has done you wrong. It is not easy. It's a process that sometimes takes a long time. It's a process that sometimes causes you a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of reordering of who you are, and all of the pantheon of people that are around you. And sometimes it's extremely painful, but you have to start. You have to try. It is also an atonement, because we are not here on Earth in a planet of light and darkness by chance. We are here because we have to atone for what we did. And when we meet the key people in one of our reincarnations, the key people that will allow us to make atonements, then we have to recognize that they are there. They are there for a reason. If, for example, you meet your father or a mother, you have a brother or a sister, they're not there for by chance. They're there for a reason. And sometimes those people with which we have the most difficulty are the ones that are going to help us the most in our spiritual development. So it's very important to understand that we are here to atone. And sometimes when we meet the neighbor, when we meet the stranger is there on our way, because we need to atone. We need this trial. We need this difficulty. And do not run away from it. Do not run away from the atonement. You need to do it. And it's also, as I said here, an opportunity for us to develop our spirits. It's an opportunity. Take it as an opportunity. We cannot hide behind any alibis, lack of time, lack of money, lack of experience. We cannot say, we are deaf, we can't hear anything, or we are blind, we can't see anything. We are there because there is a reason for us to be there. So charity is not only the responsibility of others, of governments or ONGs or whatever, it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility. Each one of us has a responsibility to be charitable. And remember this saying, it is in the Gospels according to Spiritism, to whom much is given, much will be required. So we have received information that allows us to make the good choices. We know what we have to do. And so we were informed. So we cannot say that we didn't know. We know. So much of it will be required from us. We talk a little bit now about individual and collective responsibility. We have to love each other as much as we love ourselves, as I mentioned before, with no restrictions, with no prejudices, without judgments. Extremely difficult not to judge, because we were all programmed, brainwashed to judge. In school, we were brainwashed to judge. Somebody walks into the room and we're already judging the person. But we have to love without judgments, as if we were a good Samaritan. You know the story about the Good Samaritan, this guy that was a Samaritan who was a people that lived in old Palestine, and they were discriminated against by some of the other people who lived there at the time. And one time, one of these people were attacked on the road to Jerusalem, and several people went by and did not help them. But then a Samaritan came along, and even though he was discriminated against by everybody else in the society, he was the only one that stopped to help this guy who was wounded. So we have to act like that. And the Good Samaritan is a very good example of what charity is. Charity with no restrictions, with no prejudice, without judgments. A person needs your help. He needs your help now. He needs your help right away. It doesn't need your judgment. It doesn't need your preconditions. It needs help. When you need help, what do you want? You want somebody to help you without any preconditions, without restrictions, and without prejudice. So you should do the same for others. We have our free will. Then doing nothing, remember, is also a decision. So if you decide if there's somebody wounded by the side of the road and you decide to walk on, it's a decision that you are making. So, and this is an error. This is a mistake. It's not a sin, because in Spiritist thinking there is no sin, but there are mistakes, and mistakes will have to be corrected later on. We have then to assume the consequences of our actions. Assume the consequences of our actions. So every time we decide and every time we make a mistake, then there will be a consequence. That's all. There will be a lesson to be learned somewhere down the road. We are responsible for our own actions. We are also responsible for the action of those who speak for us. What do I mean by that? Is that if you allow somebody to speak for us and he makes a mistake, or he is acting in a very unfair way or unjust way, then if you gave him that liberty to speak in your name, then you assume also the responsibility for his mistakes. So sometimes we have to say, no, you do not speak for me. You do not speak on my behalf. We are responsible for the welfare of others. We cannot pretend that others around us are not our responsibility. We must want to know. We have to want to know what's going on. We have to want to see, if, principal injustice, wrong, what is being done wrong in a society. Remember, a lot of societies are unjust. There are a lot of societies that have laws, for example, which are unjust. Let's take, for example, apartheid laws. They were unjust. The laws in the South of the United States, the Jim Crow laws, they were unjust laws. So we must see those laws as unjust, and we must denounce them as unjust. And we cannot pretend that we don't see or we don't hear. We are not here. It's not with me. Oh, I'm out of it. I'm not black, or I'm not Jewish, so why should I worry about Jews? If they're being persecuted. Why, I'm not a woman, so why should I worry about women being discriminated against, or gay people being discriminated against? I'm not gay, so I don't care. You could say that, but that is wrong, really. You should worry about it. You should worry about it. So you want to hear, you want to see. You should not be afraid to say what is wrong. That is something wrong, you should say. It is wrong, in my view. You should denounce evil. There is evil in the world. Of course, we are in a planet where evil still predominates. So if you see evil, you should say it. This is evil. This is not correct. And you should act upon for the good of others. So we have individual and collective responsibilities. Absolutely. Conclusions. So we arriving at the conclusion. And some of you may be saying, wow, finally she's getting to a conclusion. But, conclusions are good. Jesus said, blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. So this is in the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. So if you want to be shown mercy, you have to be merciful. Simple as that. Love your neighbor as you would love yourself. Again, repeat that. It's always good to repeat it, because even by repeating it, we still forget it from time to time. So we might as well repeat it 100 times, just like we did sometimes in school when we were in kindergarten. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you don't like what somebody is doing to you, you should not do the same thing to the other guy or to the other person. Love your enemies. Practice good without ostentation. Judge yourselves before you judge others. This is something that, as I said before, a lot of us have problems with, and I was one of them, actually. I was a big judge of people. These principles will open then the narrow door of salvation, because, as you know, there's a narrow door waiting for us. And if we want to diet morally, in order for you to be able to go through this door, you have to start applying these principles. So let us follow the example of our sublime guide, Jesus. Let us follow his example. Let us follow the light. Let us follow the light. Let us not follow the darkness. The only way that we can combat darkness is by light, by throwing light into darkness, throwing goodness in what is evil. So let us follow the gospel. Let us help our brothers and sisters. Let us follow the shortest and truest road to spiritual development, which is charity. Because we know that, we absolutely know that to whom much is given, much will be required. I repeat again, this is not a threat. It's just a statement in the gospel. To whom much is given, much will be required. And without charity, there is no salvation. So that is all I have to say. I'm going to now have a little discussion here at the end. And I hope, okay, Karen is back there. Okay, hello, Karen, again.
Hi, Joe. Thank you so much
for you're welcome.
Talk.
Yes. Very. I hope I wasn't too tough, but I'm trying to. It's a bit of an important subject that has to be also called into attention, because we need to change ourselves, and changing ourselves is not easy. So I have a series of little torture questions at the end here that we can chat a little bit about. I don't see any comments here on the chat, so maybe we should address ourselves a little bit about that. But before I leave, there are a couple of messages that are very important that I'd like to show. This one here is, but mirror the world. We could change ourselves. If we could change ourselves, the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. This was said by Mahatma Gandhi. And then there is history we have to record that the greatest tragedy was not the strident clamor of bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people. This is Martin Luther King. So that goes back to the fact that you have to change yourself if you want to improve the world, and that you cannot be silent, because sometimes silence is complicity. So questions. Are we really good and righteous? I mean, are we really good and righteous? What do you think, Karen? Are you good and righteous?
That's a very complex question.
Yeah.
So,
and you have 5 minutes to answer.
As I followed your talk, I was thinking when you presented the ideals that we follow, and that, for example, the Christian love entails that. Of course, we know it's not correct to hate, to judge, to be selfish, to be proud, and we all strive for overcoming these tendencies. But knowing where we come from, if you look back in history, in humankind, and we are here at this planet of trials and atonement in order to progress and learn. So we know it's nothing that we have achieved yet, that we really have overcome all those tendencies from the past, and would be able to only see everything positive and really treat our neighbor as we would like to be treated. So I for myself, I see I'm very far from that, but I'm trying to be more conscious of it, because of course when we talk about it and when we study, we all agree, yes, we need to learn that, we need to love our neighbor as ourselves, and selfishness doesn't lead us anywhere. But I think it's so complex, and I realize that in many day-to-day situations, daily life situations, where sometimes our first reaction shows how much we still have to work on ourselves, because often it's still from the point of view of selfishness or pride that we see, that we judge others, what others do to us, and we just look from our point of view to other people's actions and judge them from there, before we realize maybe maybe I should take a step back and look at the situation again without that. So it's complex.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I think is a good answer, a very good answer. The reason why I was thinking about this question was that there's so many things, so much darkness in the world, so many things that are not correct in this world. And I'm asking myself, am I a good person, that I live here and I don't get more involved in everything that is going on? And I remember once when I went to India, the first time I went to India, it was maybe 20 years ago. And I'm sure India has changed a lot since then. But the first time I went to India, I was terribly shocked by the poverty which I saw there. Extreme poverty. And for the first couple of days, 3 or 4 days, I could essentially not leave the hotel, because I was shocked by all of that. But then on the 4th day, I was less shocked. on the fifth day, I was traveling all over the place. And after 14 days, I was not seeing a lot of these things because the brain was blocking it. The brain was assuming that, I didn't want to see that, and I didn't want to. Obviously, that was 20 years ago, so I hope I have developed a little bit more sensitivity than that. But this is what I mean, is that are we really good if so much evil is going on in the world and we are not doing anything about it? That is a question that we should always be asking ourselves. There is no right or wrong answer. You just have to think about it all the time so that you try to be as good and as righteous as you can be, with the ability and the sensitivity that you have at that particular time. That's how I see it. Another question is, well, it's a bit the same. Can we be on the side of good while ignoring evil? I would say no. If you ignore evil, then you're not necessarily on the side of good. But that is my view. What do you think?
Yeah, it's of course we cannot ignore it. I think it's again it depends on how we look at it. So if there's something which is not right going on, we can do something about it by whatever we do, either calling someone or interfering directly. Of course, if we see something wrong and we do not help, it can't be right. But I think what we see nowadays is there's a lot of situations very difficult for many of us, and if we wanted to, we could spend all day just looking at focusing on what's going on in the world which is not right, and commenting on that and pointing it out. But as long as we do not do anything about it ourselves, there's also the question: what good are we doing with it? Are we praying for people? Are we kind of interacting, doing really something? Or and then when we talk about we ignore evil or whatever we want to call it, mistakes, are we also focusing on our own mistakes before we only focus on what's going on the outside? So
yeah,
I think our
good
day-to-day task.
Yes. I guess sometimes is also that we have to develop our vision, in the sense that I may not be seeing something because I'm incapable of seeing. If I take off my glasses, I cannot see because I don't have good vision. So as you learn, as you improve inside, as you get greater development spiritually, then you will begin to see things that you were not seeing before, because your conscience is going to tell you, this is something that you should do. Whereas, a few years before, you were unable to see that because you didn't have the sensitivity to see it. You didn't have the moral development to see it. You did not have the understanding to see it. So sometimes, you need to allow this process of learning to take place so that you are able to see more. Okay, and I guess this is basically the same. Do we want to know evil? Do we want to dare say that evil is wrong? This is something also that we also have to learn how to do it, because there is sometimes something wrong can be happening, and in a public area even, and people don't see it happen because they are not programmed to see it. They were not there's a very famous case in New York where a woman was being assaulted by a bad guy, and she was asking for help, and there were 40 people heard her, and nobody came to help her because they weren't sure. Should I go out? Should I not go out? Should I help? Should I not help? So sometimes we have to develop this ability to see that there is something there that needs to be done. Okay. Are we deaf? No, we shouldn't be deaf. Are we blind? We are not blind. So we should develop all of these things. So it's not that I was doing this and I was saying, you're only talking about the negative side of things. But look, and we are in a time of the world where you can look at only the dark side, or you can look at both. But let's put it this way: if a plane falls out of the sky, and any number of people perish, you cannot say, okay, but there were 1,000 other planes that arrived at a good destination. So the natural tendency is for us to sometimes look at what is not correct. But that is the inspiration I got today. But the idea is that we should always, try to look at what is it that we are doing that we should change in order to improve life on Earth. How we can throw more light into the darkness. And the first thing you have to know is to recognize that there is darkness. And then throw light on it. Throw a smile, throw charity, throw love, and so on and so forth.
I think that also everything you said to the situation in the world, it also refers to the way we look at other people, especially those that challenge us, that we do not agree with.
Yes.
And also that very often it's an atonement for us, or a trial if we are put together with someone, or either in the family or at work or wherever.
Yes.
But often then, these are people that challenge us, and they do something that we don't agree with. This is what we often just focus on that mistake or that weakness of the person. But very often we do not see all the tons of qualities of positive
Absolutely.
qualities that person also has. And
absolutely, yes.
Try to look at it, like the example you gave. Okay, one airplane crashes, but so many others make it to their destination. So that person that we only focus on their negative quality, they have a lot of positive qualities as well. And if you try to see them and open our eyes for that, and then step by step, it gets also easier to learn to love those.
Yes.
With, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Principally when you're talking about individuals, all of us are a mixture of light and darkness. All of us. The world is a mixture of light and darkness. And we have to accept the world as it is. And obviously, some people have qualities that compensate whatever negative attributes they have, but some don't. So it depends on the individual. And depends also on the society. For example, some societies have good points and bad points, but overall, there should be a balance between both of them. Okay. So, any other topics that you like to talk, or anything that you want to address, or should we just call it a day and have a nice prayer?
I think we could really talk for hours about this topic, but we could continue that some other evening and see.
Okay.
But thank you so much for this very inspiring talk.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll just have a final prayer, and then we'll say till next time. Okay.
Okay.
So let's try to find calm and peace within ourselves, breathing deeply, allowing the energies that are circulating all around us to invade our hearts and give us peace, serenity, give us this connection with the spiritual world. And let us feel the vibrations within ourselves of love, of hope, of happiness, of everything that is good in the world, everything that is good in creation. And all of these wonderful sentiments have a particular tone, a particular note that allows us then to feel them in our hearts and allows them also to share them with all of those that are around us, whether they are incarnate or disincarnate. Let us then send lots of vibrations of love, vibrations of hope, vibration of happiness to all of our brothers and sisters who are in the world with us, which are walking on earth with us, which share this incarnation with us. Let us share with them this hope that a better world will come to be from the present time. Let us share with them the hope that there is a brighter future, there is a light there that is calling us to a higher being. Let us also think about all of the spirits that are on the other side of the mirror, those that are not sharing this physical world with us. Let us send to them all our love, all our compassion, vibrations of hope, so that they know that we love them, so that they know that they have only to follow the light in order to find salvation. Let us also thank all our spiritual friends who have helped us tonight, all of those that have inspired us, all of us who have helped us, and all of those that have protected us. Let us thank our Lord Jesus for the help that he gave us, for the inspiration that he gave us, for the words that show us the way towards light. And then let us thank our Creator, the Almighty. Let us thank He who gave us eternal life as spirits, He who gave us the opportunity to be incarnate, the opportunity to work towards a better universe. And so let us ask Him to bless us and give us the permission for us to close our talks today. Thank you. God bless you, and see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Joaquin.
Thank you.